They say the past is buried, but I'm learning that in places like this, the past isn't buried at all. It's trapped, walking the same halls, wearing the same robes, pretending to be dead while it screams underneath. Sister Catherine's past isn't a story, it's a warning, and I was about to hear it. I didn't see Sister Catherine for 3 days after the confession booth incident. 3 days of silence. 3 days of watching the Mother Superior's eyes follow me everywhere, like a predator tracking prey. 3 days of wondering if I'd destroyed the only person who understood me. The other nuns were different toward me too. Colder, more watchful, like I'd been marked as particularly dangerous, like they'd been warned about me. On the 4th day, she returned. During morning prayers, she walked in like nothing had happened. Same perfect posture, same controlled expression, same flawless performance of obedience. But I noticed a bruise on her wrist, small, purplish, barely visible under her sleeve. Only visible when she reached for her hymnal and the fabric pulled back just slightly, and I knew she'd been punished because of me, because she'd treated me like a human being instead of a problem to solve, because she'd listened to my confession like it mattered. Guilt crashed into me like a wave. After prayers, she caught my eye, just for a second, a tiny nod toward the library, an invitation, or maybe a summons. I waited 20 minutes, then made my excuse to Sister Ruth about needing research materials for my reflection essay. She gave me a suspicious look, her eyes narrowing, her mouth pinching, but let me go. When I entered the library, it was empty, except for Sister Catherine, shelving books in the back corner. The one spot with no cameras, the only truly private space in the entire building. "I'm sorry," I whispered immediately, moving to stand near her, but not too close. "I didn't know the Mother Superior was—" "Stop," she cut me off quietly, not looking at me. "Never apologize for existing. That's their weapon. Don't pick it up. Don't use it on yourself." She kept shelving books, methodical, careful. To anyone watching from a distance, we were just 2 people doing library work, but her voice was low, urgent, carrying a weight I hadn't heard before. "You asked if I was fixed. I told you no, but I didn't tell you why I'm still here, after 15 years, after everything." She paused, gripping a book so hard her knuckles went white. "You deserve to know, because you're going to face the same choice I did, and I don't want you to make my mistake." My heart was pounding, pounding. What choice? "The choice between surviving and living," she said. Then, finally, she looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something I hadn't seen before in her eyes. Regret. Deep, aching, soul-crushing regret that had carved lines in her face and stolen a decade and a half from her life. "Before she tells me her story, before everything changes, I need you to do something. Subscribe right now, because what Sister Catherine is about to reveal, it's going to break your heart and blow your mind. This is the episode where you understand everything. Don't miss a single second. Subscribe." 15 years ago, "I was you, Clara, exactly you," she said. Same age, same anger, same refusal to accept that loving women was wrong. They brought me here from Boston. My parents were wealthy, influential, connected. They couldn't have a lesbian daughter ruining their reputation, couldn't have me showing up to charity galas with a girlfriend, couldn't have their friends whispering about their failure as parents. She moved to another shelf, and I followed, keeping the same casual distance, playing the same game of looking normal while having the most important conversation of my life. I fought them. Every day, every prayer, every therapy session. I was so sure I could outlast them, so sure that if I just held on long enough, if I just refused to break, they'd see they couldn't change me. They'd see that this was who I was, that it wasn't wrong, that love could never be wrong. Her voice cracked slightly. But that's not how institutions work. They don't need to break you quickly. They just need to exhaust you, to wear you down day by day until you're too tired to fight anymore. After 6 months, they transferred me to the intensive program, that place I warned you about. I can't even describe it. Isolation cells where you'd spend days alone with nothing but your thoughts, and they'd pump in religious programming through speakers. Medication that made you feel like your brain was drowning. Electroshock therapy disguised as treatment. They called it aversion therapy. They'd show you images of women and shock you, train your body to associate love with pain. She stopped, gripping the shelf for support. Her breathing had gone shallow. I was there for 2 years. 2 years of being systematically dismantled. 2 years of having every part of myself that I valued torn away piece by piece. And when I came back here, I wasn't the same person. I learned that fighting visibly only leads to more pain, more punishment, more time in that place. I wanted to reach for her, wanted to offer some kind of comfort, but I knew I couldn't. Not here, not where anyone could see. So you stopped fighting, I said softly. No, I stopped fighting the way they expected, but I never stopped fighting. She pulled a book from the shelf, a thick theology text, and handed it to me. Open it, page 47. I did. Inside, pressed between the pages, was a photograph, faded, creased, obviously hidden for years. A young woman, maybe 18, with Sister Catherine's eyes, but different everything else. This woman was smiling, really smiling, laughing, wearing jeans and a pride shirt with rainbow stripes, her arm around another girl with dark curly hair, both of them glowing, free, completely in love, living in color while Sister Catherine now lived in black and white. "That's me," Sister Catherine whispered, before, with Rachel. I stared at the photo, at this version of Sister Catherine who looked so impossibly different from the controlled, guarded woman standing next to me. Different, free, alive in a way I didn't think was possible anymore. What happened to her? To Rachel? She got out, Sister Catherine said. Her family was less religious, less committed to fixing her, more willing to eventually accept who she was. She tried to wait for me, wrote me letters, begged my parents to release me, came to the convent and asked to see me. But she trailed off, taking the photo back, looking at it like it physically hurt, like touching it was torture. My parents told her I'd been cured, that I was happy here, that I'd taken vows, that I'd found peace in faith. They lied, but Rachel believed them. Eventually, after years of trying, she moved on, got married to a woman, had a life. Her voice was barely a whisper now, broken. The life we were supposed to have together. "But you never left," I said, understanding finally clicking into place. Finally clicking into place. Even after you turned 18, even after you had legal rights, even after you could have just walked out. "I stayed because of what they did to me in that intensive program," she said. "I stayed because I saw girls younger than me being sent there, 14, 15 years old, children, and I realized someone had to stay. Someone who understood the system had to stay inside it to sabotage it from within. Someone had to be the insider, the traitor, the resistance." My mind was reeling. Sabotage it how? She smiled then, just slightly, a ghost of the smile from that photograph, a flicker of the woman she used to be, the woman they'd stolen. "How do you think Sarah knew to trust me? How do you think that girl who was crying during prayers suddenly seemed hopeful?" She glanced toward the door, checking we were still alone. "I teach them, Clara. I teach them how to perform obedience so perfectly that they can leave. I help them rehearse their conversion. I give them the exact words the psychologists want to hear. I coach them on how to cry at the right moments, how to quote scripture in ways that make them seem reformed, how to lie convincingly enough that everyone believes they've been cured. I make them believable enough to be released. Are you getting this? Sister Catherine isn't just a victim. She's been running a 15-year covert operation to save queer girls. She's a hero. She's been sacrificing herself. If this is giving you chills, hit that like button. Comment and tell me, do you know anyone like Sister Catherine? Anyone who sacrificed everything to help others? Because this story gets even more intense.
You've been doing this for 15 years? I asked, stunned. Helping girls escape? Not at first, she admitted. At first, I was just trying to survive, just trying to make it through each day without breaking completely. But about 10 years ago, I saw a girl about to be transferred, 16 years old. She reminded me of myself, of how I'd fought, of the fire I used to have. I couldn't let her go through what I went through. So I pulled her aside, taught her how to lie convincingly, how to perform conviction, how to make them believe she'd seen the light. She paused. She got out 6 months later. Last I heard, she's living in Portland with her girlfriend, working as a teacher, living the life she deserves. How many? I asked. How many have you saved? 43. She said immediately, like she'd been counting, like each one mattered, like she kept a mental list of every girl who got to walk out of here free, of every single life she'd saved. 43 girls who went home, who got to have lives, who got to love freely, who got to be themselves. I felt tears burning in my eyes, not sad tears, not hopeless tears, angry, grateful, complicated tears that came from understanding the magnitude of what she'd done, what she'd sacrificed, the sheer weight of it. But you never left. You saved 43 people and you never saved yourself. I couldn't leave them, she said, simply, like it was obvious, like there was no other choice, like she'd made peace with the fact that she was trapped. Because someone has to stay behind, someone has to be the insider, the mole, the traitor to the system. It has to be someone they trust, someone who's been here long enough that they believe she's one of them, someone who can move freely, who has access, who knows how everything works. She looked at me intently. That's why I can't be caught, Clara. That's why every interaction has to be perfect. Every performance has to be flawless. Because if they figure out what I'm really doing, I'm not the only one who suffers. Every girl I've helped, every plan I've made, everything collapses. Is that why you were so cold to me at first? I asked. You were protecting yourself, and me. Yes, she said. But also, she hesitated, and for the first time I saw her mask completely slip, saw vulnerability, saw pain, saw something that looked almost like fear, raw fear. Also because you remind me of her, of Rachel, of myself, of everything I gave up. She swallowed hard. And that's dangerous, because caring about someone in particular makes you careless, makes you take risks you shouldn't take, makes you forget the rules that keep you alive. The air between us felt electric, charged, humming with something I couldn't name, like something unspoken was screaming in the silence. Are you saying you care about me? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She didn't answer immediately, just stared at me with those haunted eyes, those eyes that had seen too much, survived too much, sacrificed too much. And then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it, she said, I'm saying you're making it very hard for me to do my job, which is to help you leave, to teach you how to pretend, to get you out of here so you can have the life I didn't. She closed the book between us. But the problem is, Clara, every time I look at you, I don't see a girl I need to save. I see the woman I wasn't allowed to become. I see the life I should have had, the future they stole from me. And then the library door opened. Sister Ruth walked in, her face suspicious, her eyes darting between us, and my heart stopped. Sister Catherine, the Mother Superior needs you in her office, immediately. Sister Catherine's face went completely neutral, that perfect mask slamming back into place in an instant like she'd flipped a switch. Of course, she said smoothly. As she walked past me, she didn't look back, didn't acknowledge what she'd just admitted, but I saw her hand shake, just slightly, just enough, and I knew This wasn't just about saving me anymore. This wasn't just about her mission. Something had shifted, something neither of us could control. And in a place like this, losing control could mean losing everything, could mean she'd be destroyed. I had to know what the Mother Superior wanted, because if Sister Catherine was in danger, I wasn't going to let her face it alone. Not anymore. Not after everything she'd just told me. That night, I made a desperate decision. I snuck back into the library, to the shelf where we'd been standing. Sister Catherine had left the book on the table, the one with the photo. I opened it, hoping for a clue, anything, any sign of what she was planning. The photo was gone, but behind the dust jacket, I found them, the letters, thin, folded sheets of paper, dozens, from girls who'd escaped, girls Sister Catherine had saved, girls who owed their lives to her. And one of those letters was from Rachel, written only 3 months ago.